Okay, so you're wondering, how do I help my client see that they are amazing, that they hold all these qualities, these strengths, these transferable skills, these abilities to be their full potential? But I struggle because in our sessions, they can be negative, they can be really resistant, and I can't seem to like push through. So we're going to go to strength-based training, which I use this in executive coaching. I also train psychologists to use this. So let me explain how to do what I call a strength card. We've all heard of them before, but we sometimes forget, like, oh, that's a great tool to use, and you can use them easily in any session. If you're a HRBP, meaning HR person does coaching, if you're an executive coach, a life coach, a clinician, a therapist, school counselor, right? Gamut, you can use this anytime. For young people to anyone in the professional like setting, even retired people, right? Choose your adventure. Here's what you do. You start with an index card. So you start like a blank index card. Okay. Now, what I like to do is I love to bring in creative juices. I love to bring in color and different textures and stuff in my in-person sessions. So you decide if you want to bring markers in, stickers, whatever, you want different size index cards, right? The reason I like the index cards for a strength card is you can put in your wallet, you can put in your backpack, you can stick it on a mirror, like on your desk, wherever. It's small enough that it's not too intrusive. And then I like colors because you can play around with the different strengths. You can, you know, make them bigger, smaller, however you want. And colors, like for me, like is like, it ignites my brain. So I love colors. But depending on what your client likes, do that. Then what you do, okay, so you have your tools, you build a strength card. So you, with your client, not just them, right? You have them say, okay, in your session, okay, so I want to try this new thing to kind of start sparking the things that you're good at and putting your strengths forward, right? I want you to really tell me what you're really good at, and I'll help you because there's things that you might not see about yourself that I do, and I'd like to bring them to the table. And I like to create a strength card that you can choose to do whatever you want with it, but at least we'll know that there's 15 things on this card that you are good at, talented, skilled, you're able to do. So here's the key. You do this with them because sometimes we struggle. We know our top 5. I'm smart, I'm driven, determined, like bleh. Okay, and it's the same things that people repeat, but they're not meaningful to them. And when you share as a clinician, as a therapist, counselor, coach, some of the strengths that you see in them, they might have hoped for that someone would see that in them, or they really wanted someone to realize that that was one of their strengths, and they might have had the courage to say so. So it can be really powerful. Okay, so then you come with your 15 strengths. Why 15? Because it really starts the imagination. You get more than 15, wonderful, but 15 is your minimum. Now, I like to use the alphabet. So what I do is I start with the different letters of the alphabet and I start naming out strengths. Here's how I do it. Say you're my client. I'd be like, you know what? Thanks for coming to the session today, Sally. I want to work on really identifying like your strengths, what makes you really unique, what brings you like joy, the things that like ignite you, that you love to do, the skills, abilities, strengths that really like make you unique. So we're going to take an index card, and we have some markers and I have some pens. And what we're going to do is we're going to put your name in the middle of the index card and then the strengths all around it. I'd like to get to 15. They're going to have an immediate reaction of like, oh my God, that's so much. Some of your clients might be stressed out. You just let them have their reaction when you say 15 and you sit with the silence. Because you don't want to engage with their resistance or their distraction of that's so much, I don't have that, because everyone has more than 15 strengths. The problem is we don't celebrate our strengths enough that they're not at the front of our mind. I mean, ask people what they're not good at and they'll list them out. And so the idea is to shift our mind, we need to put forth what we're good at. So what you're going to do is like, okay, so let's start. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, write everything that you're good at, your strengths, maybe some things that your children, your friends, your parents, your like old professors, your teachers, anyone within you that has shared something that you're like, yeah, that's true about me, write that down. Give your client a few minutes, okay? to list as many as they can. Then always ask, okay, so where are you at? I'm at 5, 6. Okay. So now I'm going to chime in. I'm just going to name some of the things that I see in you. And if you identify with them, add them to your list. So you need to prepare as a therapist, counselor, and coach. Boom. You need to write down the strengths of your clients so that you're not just like throwing something in the abyss that's not true about them. Because then that's inauthentic and that's not helpful. So you need to set forth the strengths, the 15 you have for your client. I would actually do more than 15 because you want to have more in case that they wrote those and you're like short a few, okay? Because you never know. 20 doesn't hurt anybody, and that's our job. Our job is to really highlight our clients and showcase how wonderful they are. So having more than 15 strength would be just part of our job. Okay, then you start listing them out. I like the alphabet method. So I've used this for years, obviously. So I have a whole series of alphabet of strengths. You can ask ChatGPT, give me the alphabet of strengths. It will give you a list. Or you can actually, on this video, I'll put a file. You can go to my Stan store and download for free the strength alphabet that I've put together. And then I've taught myself to learn the alphabet of strengths so it comes easily. And then I pick the ones for my client. So for example, I'm sitting with my client and be like, okay, so you have a few that you're like an advocate. That's wonderful. So also I feel like you're adventurous, you're athletic, you're brave, you're I'm pausing here because for my counselors and I would say like therapists, depending on how you feel about this, in the space where I used to teach in middle school, I always felt, and this is just my professional, personal opinion, follow it if I love to tell people they're beautiful. I love to tell them that because it's not just like physically, it's interior. So I tell them like, you're beautiful, like you shine bright, right? So I feel like sometimes there's a lot of weight on the word beauty. So if you can use it in a way that makes someone feel special, enlightened, bright, especially if they're teenagers, they really want to their physical appearance does matter to them. So hearing it, it's never in my work and the stuff I do has never hurt me to explain also your definition of beauty. So I'd be like, you're beautiful. Like you show up and you brighten up the room with your smile, with, your cool style. So that would be something you could use beauty for, okay? So then you go down the alphabet. C, you're caring, compassionate, composed, driven, determined. You are, energetic. You're forgiving. So you see I'm going through the alphabet. So I'd list those and I'd have them on my index card already ready to go. And then I would be able to list them. So then I'd be like, let's compare. Like, what do you have? And then have them completely fill them out. Now, if you want to take this activity a next level, right, because this could be a whole session doing that, the next level is like bring your strength card back. And we're going to find examples where you were funny, you were empathetic, you were considerate. So then what you're doing is you're adding statements to your strengths, which is solidifying the actual strength card. So every time they think of funny, they'll remember that time they were funny. Every time they think of kind, they remember the kind gesture they did. So then it really enforces their strengths and their identity. So you're grounding them in a strength-based identity versus some of the old stories that are negative that have been floating around in their head. So I really recommend that you try this. Let me know. I'd love to be more helpful if I can. But again, recap. First, blank index card. Have them put their name on. They start the activity using pen, markers, whatever they want. They do the 15 strengths. You come prepared with your strengths. Alphabet order is better for you to remember. And then you continue sharing. At the end, the strength card would look something like this, where you have their name in the middle and all the strengths around. You, as a counselor, coach, and therapist, you need to have at least 20 in your bank from that person that are authentic, that you find good. Okay, after that session, they bring back their strength card, okay? So now you ground it in their identity and you have examples of when were they loving, kind, and those statements become branded in who they are, and they can really affirm, I am funny, I am caring, right? And so I like to then tie in my third session, the I am statements. So I am a good friend. Here's an example. And so this is what it's doing is repetition, consistency, and structure with this index card of instead of having one short session on a model, now you have 3 sessions and you can really solidify that. And then your 4th session, look where I'm going, 1 month of a habit, is talking about how these strengths have showed up in your life in the past 30 days that you've noticed. Oh, well, I've noticed that I've been taking a little more risk because, I am adventurous. So I'm saying yes to more things. Okay, perfect. That's your last session. Where have you identified in the last 30 days these strengths showing up in your life? So first session, finding those strengths, naming them. Second session, tying in statements that that make these stories real. Third, using I am, and then reinforcing, I am funny because you're right. I did make this joke, blah, blah, blah. And the fourth session, right, is then when you pull it all together, and then they start noticing more and more frequencies of those strengths popping up in their life when they're seeing themselves as I am, this label, this beautiful label I've given myself, now I see it in a day-to-day basis. In 30 days, you're increasing self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-awareness on strength-based learning through an index card. So I dare you to try it. Let me know how it works, and good luck. And if you haven't already, just please subscribe to The Ordinary Professor for tips and tricks like this on coaching, on using frameworks, ideas in your sessions as a coach, as a therapist, as an HR practitioner. However you want, you can use this anywhere in your life. Good luck. You got this.